Hello everybody, welcome back to Future Fiber. This is your host Jenny, and today we're doing a 5,000 subscriber special Q&A session. Everybody get hyped. I'm not that great with words, so you guys already know how this is gonna kind of go, but I would like to just thank everybody who's subscribed, watched my videos over the past couple of months since I started this channel. I honestly didn't think I would have this many people watching. So this is all very kind of surreal to me, and it doesn't really feel real. That's what surreal means, that it doesn't feel real. But anyway, the point is that I'm very grateful that all of you guys find me entertaining enough to tune in every week-ish, and I hope to make more videos. I have a lot of video ideas in my brain, so schedule permitting, this YouTube channel is not going anywhere. Cheers to another, I don't know, future of Future Fiber. So a couple weeks ago, no, it was not a couple weeks ago, it was like last week. I have no sense of time. Last week-ish, I posted on Instagram as well as YouTube community tab to submit your questions for me. I'm probably not going to get to all of these questions, so if you really wanted an answer and I didn't answer the question here in this video, leave it down in the comments, and I will try and get to them. Alright, here we go. So how I'll do this is I'll start with like the knitting related questions first, and then I'll kind of go towards like more demographic, personal questions towards the end, because you know this is a knitting channel despite everything, so maybe it'll be more on theme if we start with the knitting related ones. So I've gotten a couple questions about when did you learn how to knit and how. So I first learned how to knit when I was in, I think, middle school. I had one of those klutz books about the books that come with like a little bit of yarn and then a needle and then instructions and project ideas of how to make certain, small projects. That's how I learned to knit, and which is wild to me thinking back on it, because I can't imagine myself learning how to do certain techniques without video tutorials now. So I don't understand how I taught myself how to like cast on and knit and purl. I mean, I wasn't very good. I was making really like, those misfigured looking squares and scarves. But I think my mom definitely helped me learn. But so that's where I learned how to do the knit and purl. But me really getting into knitting, I would say I downloaded some free patterns from the Wool and the Gang site, and I was being really cheap, and I just downloaded the patterns and bought the most similar weight of yarn, which was like Lion brand Thick and Quick or Woolies, and then I used that to kind of knit myself my first sweater, which was all like 4 separate pieces and you seam it up. So that's kind of how I learned, and then the rest of it is just through YouTube. This next question is, what would you like to try knitting without a pattern next? That's a really good question. I think I don't really have an answer to this. I don't really like designing my own things or like freestyling them if I feel like I can't achieve it to the best of my abilities. So I don't really like knitting without a pattern, so I can't say that I have anything that I want to knit without a pattern next. And this is a hobby, so I kind of want it to be, simple and easy and relaxing for me, and I feel like doing the math and all that stuff is typically not very relaxing. So this is a cop-out, but I don't really have anything that I would like to knit without a pattern. This one says, do you have any favorite Korean knitwear designers / YouTubers? I would have to say anything from Panu Stories, like YouTube channel is really inspiring. I watch, that was like one of the main motivators, I think, for me to get back into knitting, other than like looking at some Wool and the Gang like patterns. Like I think that and the chunky cardigan kind of craze was what got into me. And then like the person that runs that account on YouTube and Instagram, she is really, I feel like she has a really good eye for what's trendy and is able to reflect that back into that store, which is really cool to see from like a marketing perspective. I feel like she does a really good job. So, and I also like her YouTube handle is like Thing, and it has like a bunch of N's in it, and I will link it down below. But that she's a designer slash YouTuber vlogger. She also has some really trendy pieces that she just knits up, and I feel like she's really experimental in her approach, I guess. Like I wouldn't have a thought of knitting certain things in that way or with certain color palettes. So I like her as well. And then I guess too, you know, I think another designer, she's mostly on Instagram. She's pretty famous, I think, in Korea, but Mama Lands is her Instagram handle. I really like her as well. I feel like her style leans a little bit more towards like, I don't know how to describe it, but it feels a little bit more Japanese, like, you know, the Japanese knitting books, it feels a little bit more like that. But I like her use of color and like silhouettes and things like that, so I like her as well. The next knitting related question: any projects and techniques you've been wanting to try but have been intimidated by? I think the Shetland shawls. So those like wedding ring shawls that are huge and made with like the finest wool. I really want one, and I thought about it like, oh, what if I start one now? And then I have no plans to get married anytime soon, by the way, but I was like, if I start now, maybe by the time that we seriously think about marriage, like I will have it done. So I was just like randomly searching up like how to make Shetland wedding shawls, and I also thought about like getting one commissioned from someone. But yeah, that is something that I really want to try, but I'm so intimidated by, and lace making in general, both crocheting and knitting lace. But I will try and incorporate more lace pattern projects later in the year, I think, especially in the summer. This one says, have you tried hand-dyed yarn? If so, verdict. Yes, I have tried hand-dyed yarn. Mostly in sock yarn form, and then so I've used it held together with something that way, and I like it. But I feel like a lot of the hand-dyed yarns that I like and prefer tend to be like tonals with like slight variations in color, which are nice, you know. But it does make me think, like, does this really need to be, did I need to get hand-dyed yarn? It's really expensive, so I don't know. I love looking at them in like skein form and watching other people use them up in their projects. And I've liked the projects that I made with hand-dyed yarn, but I don't necessarily know if I would go out of my way to purchase another one like ASAP. Yeah. Oh, I got some questions about if I do a me-made wardrobe, or like if I do capsule closets and stuff like that. So basically about like style. I don't really do a capsule closet just because, like, one, I don't really understand what it is. And I don't put that much active effort into like what I add to my wardrobe, which might be surprising, because I make a lot of clothes. And the me-made wardrobe, I do think, you know, I think at this point at least 50% or more of my closet is made by me. That's because I just really like being able to go outside, and if somebody's like, I really like your outfit, I can be like, yeah, thanks, I made it. You know, the little serotonin boost you get from that. My incredibly self-absorbedness just shines when somebody compliments my handmade outfit. So that's one of the reasons why my closet is mostly handmade, and if it's not handmade, it's definitely secondhand at this point. I think I culled out a lot of things that I purchased new over the years, so that's like my basic wardrobe. But I don't really have like a theme, and if there seems to be a theme, it's just because I like that particular pattern or color or what have you. So I don't really actively curate my closet. What's the one project you would like to recommend to knit for someone who started this craft? I would say, well, I have two answers. One is a practical answer, and one is like what I would tell people to encourage them. So the practical answer would be, I would say make a hat. I say hat because if you're starting out, God, what's happening?
A few moments later.
Okay. Let's see if my coughing fit will just subside. Now, I say hat because I think if you're starting out knitting, you want to kind of learn how to knit and purl for like an extended amount of fabric. And I think a hat is a good project to kind of get them used to that, because you do have to knit a certain length, but it's not like a scarf where you have to knit and knit and knit. Like, I don't like knitting scarves, and I knit a lot. So it's like for somebody who's starting out to knit, I feel like knitting a scarf is just like a really long process that they might lose interest in. So I would say a hat is like a good in-between, and you can knit a hat flat as well. So you can teach them, if they're catching on quicker, how to join in the round, and then just knit up after doing the ribbing, so that they get the knit and purl experience. But if they want to just, practice knitting flat, then they can just knit it flat and then seam it up. So and you get a wearable product at the end. And I think that's like kind of important for beginners, or at least for me personally. I just want something. I am definitely product minded when it comes to crafting. Like, I make things because I want to use them or wear them. So having something at the end that I can like put on myself and wear outside is kind of important. So that's my practical answer. But my shoot for the stars answer is, you should just really start with whatever you want. That's within like a reasonable level of difficulty. Obviously, you're not going to do like all over like Fair Isle colorwork sweater if you don't know how to knit and purl. But if you want to knit a cardigan and that's why you started knitting, you should knit a cardigan. Or if you want to knit a sweater, or you want to knit socks or like a top, and that's why you started knitting, I think you should try and start with that once you've learned how to kind of like knit and purl. Because then like you'll feel more motivated to finish it, is my take on that. Oh, I've gotten some questions around how many hours a day, week do you knit? And I knit like it's my job, basically. I knit every day so far. Since I started YouTube, I've knit every single day. But even before that, I was knitting pretty much like solid couple hours a day, every single day. And this is like very abnormal and like unrealistic for most people. So if you feel like I finish projects really quickly, and you're feeling like you're not finishing projects quickly, like, do not compare yourself to me, because I have no life. And I literally spent many waking hours knitting because I have a problem. And that is why I started this YouTube, because I was like, I am spending so much time on this, like I might as well as have some other way to document what I've been working on. So don't compare yourself to me. It is unrealistic, and I know that. And this is kind of going into, this person asks, I'm itching to start a knitting podcast. Based on your experience, why should I or why should I not? Okay, you should, go for it. I think it's been fun, definitely. I didn't really think that I would have the mental fortitude to keep this guy going for this long. So it's been really enjoyable, kind of reading comments and having conversations and getting to talk to a couple other people in the knitting community, like other knitting podcasters as well. So that's been a really good experience for me, and it really gave me something to do that's outside of like knitting or so it's been really good for me. Why not? I don't know. Like, if you really hate video editing, I mean, but you don't even have to edit the videos. I do it just because I talk very not well. So it's a necessary evil for me to cut out a lot of the rambling and the awkward pauses. But if you are and I know there are other podcasters in the knitting community who are very well spoken and they do everything in one take, no editing. So if you should start, if you're part of that crew, or even if you do have a lot of awkward pauses, if you don't mind having that in the video, like, go for it. There will be people who watch, and even if you don't get like a ton of views, I think as long as you find the process fun, I think you should start. But I might be biased in my approach. This is a really interesting question. What's your favorite process knit, and what's your favorite product knit so far? In general, I'm a product knitter, so that question will be easier for me to answer. I think product wise, I would say I would say what I'm wearing now, my Ingrid sweater. No, I take that back. I haven't showed this yet, but I finished the square neck camisole recently, and I really like that. I would say that's my favorite product knit. And my favorite process knit, I don't know if I have any. Like, I enjoy the process of... I started working on the Olymp Fest by Le Pole, and I like the process of that a lot because you're changing colors and it's like pretty fun to swap out the colors. So I would say those are like... They're more recent, but that's my answer because that's just like at the top of my head, I guess. Oh my god, we got some we have some would you rathers. This one says, would you rather knit a pattern you hate with yarn you love would you rather knit a pattern you hate with yarn you love, or a pattern you love with yarn you hate? Well, I think it depends. I think given that I am mostly a product knitter, I think I would want to knit a pattern I love with yarn you hate, but it depends on what. I guess it depends on why I hate the yarn. I've done this a lot, by the way. Like, I've knit a lot of things that I like with yarn that I didn't really like. If the yarn makes it unwearable, that's kind of going to be a little bit of a problem, but yeah, I would say knit a pattern I love with yarn I hate. Favorite fiber and why? I really like the process of knitting with like Drops Lima. So is that like alpaca and wool? I like that. I think in general, I have a preference for wool. I just think the elastic qualities of it make it really nice to knit with. So that's my favorite fiber. Oh, this one is, so we talked about favorite fiber to knit with, but this one says favorite and least favorite fiber to knit with. Least favorite fiber so far has been like, Lion Brand Kobu. I'm so sorry that I'm doing slander on this yarn. I know some people really like it. I hate yarns that split. So I would say that, but I don't think it's necessarily like, because I've knitted other yarns with like bamboo or like cotton content and I didn't hate it that much. So I think it was just that particular yarn and the way that it was made, maybe. So yeah, I would say that. I'm so sorry. Oh, I got this question about what's your favorite yarn weight and what's my favorite needle size. My favorite yarn weight and needle size, I would have to say, is DK. That's a pretty boring answer. I think that's most people's favorite. But I also like knitting, a little bit smaller as well. It takes longer, but I feel like I like the result of it. So like 3mm, 4mm, 4.5, that range is my favorite, I would say. And this one says, do you have an all-time favorite piece you knit, or does it change every couple projects? I think it changes with every couple projects. I'm very, like, I can't see very far back or very far ahead. I keep saying this. So whatever is in the moment and I'm pleased with, that's what I like. Okay, so I think that's all of the knitting related questions that I had. And the rest of it is kind of related to my personal life and stuff. So, and a lot about my cat. So thanks for loving my cat. I would show you her with me right now, but my cat is very cat. And she's like, I adopted her when she was like anywhere from like 5 to 7. So she's very, very set in her ways, and she like hates people. She doesn't like people. So she doesn't like me that much either. She tolerates me because like I live with her, obviously, but she doesn't like being picked up. She doesn't like really being pet or touched. She likes being pet only on her own terms, so I just try and leave her alone. She's like my roommate, kind of. All right, so let's get into the personal questions. So this is the one that was like at least 40% of all the questions that came in, asked me about this, and that is what do I do for a living? What is my job? Do I have a job? So I think the short answer to this question is no, not at the moment. My career, or like what I do if I wasn't unemployed, I work as a user experience designer. I had a couple questions about my ethnicity. Yes, I'm Korean. I think I've talked about it previously. And I got a couple questions about like if I speak the language. Yes, I do. And am I fluent? Yes, I am. Will I speak it on the podcast? Mostly likely not. Because I've lived in the United States for about like 20 years now. And while I am fluent in Korean, I don't really have a ton of chance to speak it. And so I don't feel the most confident in my speaking ability. I don't feel as natural talking to a camera in it, so I don't think I would be doing podcasts in Korean. And most of my audience is English speaking for obvious reasons. And thought about putting in subtitles sometimes, but like I feel like subtitles are kind of weird for a knitting related video, since you are most likely just listening to me because you're looking down at your knitting. So I don't know. We'll see how it goes. Oh, what's the coffee you drink on the podcast? I have like a Nespresso machine at home, so it's the Illy capsule machine, but I have reusable capsules, so it's basically like 2 espresso shots and oat milk typically, or cold brew if we have cold brew. Oh, this one says, what's your NBTI? I have to look it up every time, but it's actually pretty sure I'm INTP, logician. I have a couple questions about what's my favorite restaurant and what's my favorite coffee place or bakery. Feda. Honestly, just cheap and a large volume of sweets, and I'm not that picky. But if I want to splurge, Lady M or La Durée. My favorite restaurant, I typically like Szechuan food, so the vegan version would be Spicy Moon in Lower Manhattan, and then otherwise I go to Cafe China, and I would say that's off at the top of my head my favorite restaurants. Oh, and if I want pasta or Italian food, I usually end up at Bar Primi in where is that? Is that Lower East? Yeah, but I don't know if they're the best Italian restaurant in the city. I just end up there because they always have tables. Okay. I think the rest of it is media recommendations. And you asked the wrong person because I don't really watch a lot of TV. I don't really watch movies. My main form of absorbing content is like YouTube. So with TV and movies and stuff, I have like comfort watches that I rewatch on all the time. And this is once again a boring answer for movies. It's Jane Eyre, the 2011 one with like Michael Fassbender, and Pride and Prejudice with Keira Knightley. Roast me for it. I am a boring person. Oh, and also Transformers, the first one, not any of the other ones. TV wise, I also just watch the same things over and over and over again. It's so messed up. Like I have just like how it's made. I just find clips of it on YouTube and just like let it play through the autoplay. So that's how it's made. And I also have watched a lot of Forensic Files. And I watch Adventures of Sherlock Holmes, like the Granada TV version from like the 80s to 90s. That one I rewatch all the time. And also Pride and Prejudice. So if you get a sense of what I like from that list. Yeah. I got asking for book recommendations as well. I read a lot, but I read mostly in Korean. And it's not anything that I can recommend. Mostly because like they're not really like intellectual reading materials. A lot of romance novels. I listen to audiobooks mostly if I'm reading in English, and I usually tend towards like mystery thriller or nonfiction. And what I've been reading, or what I've read recently, is I'm Glad My Mom Died by Jeanette McCurdy, and also the two books written by the mortician that runs Ask a Mortician, Caitlin Doughty. She wrote Smoke Gets in Your Eyes, and I think the other one that I was reading was From Here to Eternity. And I also read the Butchering Art by I'm blanking on the author's name, but that one was also good. And The Five, which is about the Jack the Ripper victims, which I thought was really interesting because it's like focusing on the victims rather than the perpetrator, which I think a lot of sensationalized crime tends to focus on that. So I just thought it was really interesting. So that's my book tastes and recommendations. Oh, I had some people ask about if I watch K-dramas and if I had recommendations. I don't. I'm sorry. I just don't really watch a lot of new TV shows in general. So the last like K-drama I watched was like Dokkaebi, which is like from 2016, I think. And then like Secretary Kim, which I saw like clips of and it seemed fun. But like any like Korean TV material I watch is usually like variety shows. I'm a boring person, what can I say? I'm going to end with this question just because I thought it was like hilarious. Celebrity you'd most want to fight? Tom Cruise. And I think I would win. Thank you everybody for tuning in. Hope this answers some of your questions about me. I also have plans for a giveaway. Here's how the giveaway will work. You just leave a comment down below and make sure to subscribe to this channel. And 2 weeks from now, from this video being uploaded, in that video, I will draw the winners, and I will also make a community post as well as Instagram posts letting you know how to contact me. And you can enter worldwide. And what you can win is a handmade project bag made by me and a skein of hand-dyed yarn. And that's pretty much it. Thank you once again for the 5,000 subscribers, and I hope to see you guys in the next video, and we will return to our regularly scheduled programming of podcasts. So, catch you guys in the next one, and I hope you're having a good day wherever you are, and see you guys later. Bye.